Hey everyone, it's Sun Types, and Chaos Rising is right around the corner. So today I'm going to be ranking all of the decks in the standard format for the Chaos Rising, format there. And first of all, we obviously need to talk about what's in Chaos Rising that's changing the game. And there are a few cards. Well, there is one card, I guess, mostly, which is going to be Special Red Card. Special Red Card isn't a card that's going to completely change the metagame, but still is pretty good here. It's an item that says you can only use this if your opponent has 3 of your prize cards remaining. It says your opponent shuffles the hand, puts on the bottom of their deck, then draws 3. This will see play in a lot of decks as a 1 or 2 of, I imagine, becoming a new, staple card, a stable hand disruption card, and a card that allows more potentially comebacks or something like that. When I say comebacks, I mean if you're down on prizes, you can make comebacks. Of course, I mean, let's talk about the elephant in the room when we're talking about the metagame. Obviously, Dragapult EX is going to be very good. We look at the metagame in Japan. By the way, this is Ninja Spinner. Ninja Spinner is Chaos Rising, essentially. They're the same thing. Ninja Spinner was released in Japan, though, and that set was released a little while ago. If we look at the current metagame in Japan, we can see, what our metagame will look like soon in the future. But looking at the City League tournaments, we see Dragapult EX is still unsurprisingly the best deck in the game right now, by quite a bit. I don't know if it's better or worse compared to previous times here. We also see a bunch of Ogerpon decks, so those are some different decks. And ultimately, Dragapult is still, super, super powerful there. I think it gets helped out a little bit by Special Red Card. So definitely, Dragapult's still going to be S tier. Very clearly the best deck in the game. I've been talking a little bit about how we haven't seen lots of powerful decks and cards releasing, and even the cards that we have seen releasing have helped Dragapult as well. Generally, I think, with Pitch Black, the set after Chaos Rising, I think that set's going to be a bit stronger than Chaos Rising, Phantasmal Flames, or Perfect Order there, which were generally 3 relatively weak sets in a row. Honestly, pretty weak sets in a row. Actually, yesterday, I believe, I just made a video with Icon Fossil. We ranked the top 10 cards in the set. And so there aren't going to be a ton of change-ups to the meta, but there still are some new decks that I have here on this list. I just have 2 new decks, but then some other decks that get some really fun new pieces. And then obviously we have a Special Red Card to talk about. But with Special Red Card, as I said, it's a bit of a comebacky card. Dragapult EX is not the most not the speediest deck in the game, right? It's like the best deck in the game, but that's because of Dracloak allowing you to come back into games, or just like stay in games consistently with a good engine. Have a good onboard engines, a good, I guess, counter to Special Red Card. It's good to have in general, but it's really good if you get hit by hand disruption. Special Red Card shouldn't completely cripple you, so you don't need some crazy powerful engine or crazy bursty engine like the Dunsparce. I will say the Dunsparce is kind of good against Special Red Card. The Dunsparce is definitely not a very good engine in general. I've talked about that in the past because you need to be consistently putting in resources to get value out of it. Unlike with Dracloak, where Dracloak you just get into play and then you get the value over time. As Dunsparce, you get the value once, you get 3 cards every time you use it, but every time you use it, you need to reset it up again. So it can be nice, and it is really nice if specifically you are in a position where you're like, you need to draw a bunch of cards on a specific turn, which Special Red Card, I think, kind of puts you in that position, so playing Dunsparce could be good against that. And it is already seeing play some in decks like Dragapult, and certainly other decks as well. So anyways, with that, Dragapult's still going to be very good. There are also different builds. I'm not going to dive today really into the different builds of Dragapult. I play some Dragapult, certainly, and it's certainly very good. The way I like to play it, and I've done best with it, have been different than the way other people are playing it. I'm not the biggest fan of I mentioned the Dunsparce. There's also like Monkey Dory, Crispin, things like that. They certainly are good cards, but I don't know. I just don't gel with them as much. But anyways, the Dragapult EX, certainly there's a lot of different ways to play it. As you can see in the Big League tournaments, we see the Dunsparce, we see Duststorm, we see Out the EX, which I guess would probably be Straight Bolt, and we see Blaziken. By the way these deck images are created is I actually don't know how they're created. It's like somewhat automatic, but there's some guidance to it as well. But anyways, there are different builds to play Pult. They're all good. It's Dragapult, all that good stuff there. But then I'll talk about, I guess, Mega Greninja EX next. Mega Greninja EX is I'm pretty sure, end up in B tier here. I don't think there's going to be any A tier decks. I think Mega Greninja EX is probably B tier. It could even be C tier. I could see it being somewhere in that range. I'm not going to have decks that are in F tier. We don't have an F tier. There are decks in the game that are F tier that do exist, but I'm just not talking about them because they're bad and not played very much. But I don't think I'm going to have any decks that are F tier. I'm not 100% sure. No, I'm pretty sure. I might have some decks that are D tier. We will see. But I don't want to have everything in B tier, so I don't know. I mean, Greninja EX is cool. I'm certainly very excited for it. And what it does, if you're not familiar, is it's a card that is actually pretty similar to Dragapult EX. Ninja Spinnaker does 200 for 2 water if you return energy from it to your hand. And then you have this ability where you just cut a basic water from your hand if it's in the active to put 6 damage counters on one of your opponent's Pokemon. Putting 6 damage counters on one of your opponent's Pokemon is definitely it's good, right? I mean, we have Dragapult EX. Sure, they are different, but this can hit the active as well. So there's some upside to this over Dragapult EX. Not that much upside over it, and mostly downsides. You know, the good stage 1, you have an okay stage 1, I suppose, and then you have an attack that. I mean, the attack's probably worse. You have more HP, but you're 3 prizer. There's a bunch of different things here. It's 1 energy type instead of 2, which can be good, but obviously you can't use Crispin or whatever. So there are some differences here. But I mean, Greninja EX is pretty decent. Often being played with Dragapult EX, but being the main Pokemon in that deck there. I think Greninja EX is a pretty decent deck. Generally, I mean, we saw like Mega Starmie, and we actually saw Mega Frostlass. We've seen a bunch of like pretty decent Mega Water Pokemon. We also saw Mega Abomasnow, which is not as good there, but Greninja EX, I think, is going to join something like Mega Starmie as a decent deck. Not a crazy, crazy good deck, but definitely a decent deck in my opinion. They play kind of similarly as well, both being these like, moderate amounts of spread, but with decent active damage. And it's actually just like Dragapult there. So I think it fits into B tier here. I'm not going to dive too much into the overall full build of the deck today because I'm going to be presumably playing it on, I think, Thursday or something when the set comes out. I'm very excited for Mega Greninja. I think it's a pretty cool new deck here, so I will be playing that. But there's some different builds of it as well. But it's B tier there. And the other new deck here is Beedrill EX. I think Beedrill EX is honestly... I don't really know what to think exactly about this card. As I said yesterday, I recorded my podcast with Uncommon Fossil where we talked about the different cards in the set. We had Beedrill EX and the other cards in the set in general, and all of them were kind of hard to rank. So we did kind of agree on this card where it's like, okay, it does 110 for each your Beedrill and or Beedrill EX in a play. They're only going to be Beedrill EX because they're regular Beedrill, but this allows you to theoretically do a lot of damage for 1 energy on a stage 2 prizer. And so this is decent, certainly. Taking one shots, doing like 30 doesn't one shot everything, but one shots most things there. You can one shot everything if you have, the I'm assuming you one shot everything. I'm trying to think if there's something you don't. I guess let's say Stevens with all the buffs, but I don't know. You one shot like everything if you got all 4 in play. Obviously, that's kind of hard to do with like prizing and stuff, but with 3, that's good. With 2, it's okay doing 220 there if you got 2 Beedrill EXs in play. And then obviously when you get knocked out, you need to get more in play to be able to actually continue doing damage. So anyways, Beedrill EX is a card that is probably... or as a deck, I guess, Pokemon as a card in a deck is pretty similar there. It's been paired with Arboliva EX as well. I will say Arboliva EX is the deck with Meganium and Ogerpon, not the deck with... and so... Beedrill EX is probably C tier. I mean, it can do a lot of damage pretty efficiently. I do think it is a better card than Arboliva EX. I guess I'll talk about Arboliva EX now as well. Arboliva EX ultimately just doesn't do very much damage. Yes, it does spread, but it doesn't do like that much spread. I mean, yes, you can control it decently well, and you do all right spread, but you don't do... Again, just in terms of actual damage you're doing, it's not that much. In terms of setup, it's not like terrible. Obviously, it's less than a Beedrill EX there because you don't need a bunch of them, but it's nothing either. This is a stage 2 there, so I don't know. I really don't think this deck's super good. I'll put it in C tier. I guess I'll put it above Beedrill EX. I think they're actually pretty close. I think Arboliva EX is probably a little better. Beedrill EX though, providing something a little different to the deck that fits in easier in terms of setup because they're both, these stage 2 lines. So ultimately, I like Arboliva EX. Within Beedrill EX, some I don't love it. I don't really like it with Ogerpon, but yeah, the deck's kind of fallen off a little bit as well. Not completely though. Looking at like Japan here, it's definitely seeing some. Then we have the other Ogerpon Grass Stage 2 deck, which is that deck is, where is it? Hydrople EX. Hydrople EX, I was not expecting to put here, but it's been, you can see there, doing all right in Japan. Hydrople EX is like Tilamus Ogerpon EX, but a little bit different there. So Hydrople EX is it's I don't know. I mean, it's not great, but it's not terrible either, which isn't very good analysis to be honest. But It's able to do big damage. It can heal, though I feel like the healing doesn't really matter. I haven't really played this deck too much, or seen it played that much. I mean, it's just not that popular. And it's also not that exciting. It's not that good. I mean, it's all right. Um, Probably also C tier. I'm not like a believer deck fully. I do like it more than the other C tier decks, though, I think. But I think it's relatively similar. There'll probably end up being some decks between these two, though. The Arboliva and the Grapple decks there. And then we have, I guess, the last two on this Ogerpon EX. Actually, we have a couple here. But we got Raging Bolt EX. Raging Bolt EX is still pretty good, I think. I don't think it's a crazy good deck. I mean, there's one crazy good deck, right? But I think Raging Bolt is good, able to do big damage. And yeah, I mean, it can do big damage. It can do it pretty, like, kind of out of nowhere. So it's always keep your opponent on their toes, force them to play kind of, I guess, almost scared is how to describe it. Maybe force them to set up more Pokemon and then, hold themselves back in that way by, like, for example, Dragapult attaching to another Cloak instead of a Monkey Dory, I guess. Not that they get that much value out of attaching the Monkey Dory there. Or something like that, I guess. And obviously you can just one-shot Dragapult as well, so maybe them attacking with Dragapult won't even work very well. They also have Liz Clefairy EX to attack you as well. It's all kind of messy, not super great feeling. But yeah, I mean, Raging Bolt EX is a decent deck. I think it's the best of the decks we've looked at so far. It's probably one of the decks that's closest to being in A tier. Right? I don't think it's in A tier. I don't think it's super powerful. I mean, it you look at Dragapult pre-rotation and post-rotation. Dragapult got probably better. Raging Bolt definitely got worse, losing Sada's, and Dragapult was better than Raging Bolt before anyway. So like the gap's widening there, which is unfortunate for Raging Bolt fans. But then we got the box stack slot box. We got Lily's Ogerpon, Kangaskhan, whatever. This is not Terra box, I guess, but it's like it's my Apple box is also included there. I don't really know, to be honest. This is the basic toolbox deck though. That doesn't really have a very strong identity. Like I asked different people and they say like, oh, it includes this or this, but like I don't know. There's not a consistent definition for it. Like obviously with toolbox decks, there's not a consistent list, but there's not a consistent definition. Anyways, though, this is like Ogerpon with lilies and stuff. It's fine. Definitely a decent deck. I would say also I almost missed this deck because I was looking on Play Limitless and it was split between 3 different decks, which is really funny. But yeah, I'd say this deck's probably worse than Raging Bolt, but still in B tier here. It's okay. Can take big knockouts by hitting weakness and stuff. I've also described it as get hit by weakness box. I don't know why. Whenever I played with it or against it, honestly, I always hit it for weakness. Maybe thinking like it's a toolbox deck. Surely you can avoid that, right? But that's not what happens when I played with or against it. So yeah, I don't know. It's not super great, but it's definitely all right. You can one-shot Dragapult, which is cool, and then they'll one-shot you back. So it's not crazy, but it is all right. Then we got I don't know what deck we're going to talk about next. I guess we'll talk about Mega Lucario. Mega Lucario is a deck that's been pretty popular post rotation, I guess. It's fallen off some, but definitely, certainly a decent deck here. Not the most exciting. I don't know. I mean, you could definitely enjoy it. There's some people who like it a lot, but it's fine. Able to do some all right stuff. I think it's definitely gonna end up in B tier. I'm ordering these decks in tiers, so I'm not really sure where this one's gonna go. Probably right below Raging Bolt here. Feels fine. It's okay. It's relatively simple. There's another deck similar to it that I do think is a bit better, which is Cynthia's, right? Cynthia's is pretty similar. Currently, Cynthia's I think I don't know which one's better. Wait, word. Oh, that would probably be like here. Oh yeah, I found it. Yeah, I'm so smart. I can see. And then Mega Lucario, which is Mega Lucario's here. So Mega Lucario is currently probably a little better. I mean, I think they're pretty close. They're both all right. Mega Lucario has gusting, has a better engine, like early game pressure. Cynthia is able to tank. I mean, it gives up less prizes. Honestly, that's a big thing about it. And yeah, that's really the main thing I'm looking at with Cynthia's being better and just having, I don't know if more options, but it has honestly pretty decent options. So I think Cynthia's a little better than Raging or than Mega Lucario. There's definitely Cynthia's definitely one of these decks that some people are like, this deck is terrible, and I'm like, it's pretty decent. It definitely feels, as I said, similar to Mega Lucario, but I do like it a little more, feeling a little more solid as the game kind of goes on. Mega Lucario sometimes having weird stuff and bad stuff happen to it, as well as a weakness. I think the weakness is worse. Yes, there are a good chunk of grass stacks, but I feel like the psychic weakness is a little worse than Mega Lucario, with Lily's Clefairy EX being a tech option, especially in Dragapult, right? Like you can tech Lily's Clefairy into Dragapult. You will see that some. Dragapult is the deck with the targets on its back. Cynthia's and grass type weakness is not, right? You might get hit for weakness, but it's not because people are trying to hit you for weakness. They just might end up doing it. But yeah, I feel like I'm gonna put it a little above Mega Lucario. I'm gonna put it above Raging, but I think it's a little better as well. I think they're pretty close there as well. But all decent, very very playable decks there. Then we have the next deck. I guess I'll finish up the I'll go to Megas actually now. We'll take a look at, we got Mega Lopunny. This is one of the newer decks from post rotation. People have been playing, honestly, kind of annoying. I'm not gonna lie. The deck is pretty decent. Obviously, being able to like heal, and you do decent damage for one energy on a stage 1, so it's good. Not super versatile. It's not versatile. In fact, you're just swinging, and if they one-shot you, that's bad. Fighting is pretty good, which is also bad for this. I actually only played this once or twice. I played against fighting, and I did win, but because they didn't set up. So, when playing against this, if you don't have ways to take one shots and they're able to get their wildest compassions, which they probably will, it's not that hard to do, then, I mean, quite simply, you just kind of lose. So it can just obliterate stuff. But also, like, you look at the metagame, you're like, what's good? And you're like, yeah, it's Dragapult. Dragapult can play Dusknoir, and then I think you just are kind of sad. I mean, yes, you have Psyduck as well. Does the deck play Psyduck? I'm not super familiar with this deck, to be honest, because as I said, it is a newer deck. Let me pull it up here. Mega Lopunny. There we go. It is running Battle Cage, but that's not helping you there. Psyduck. Some are, yeah, some are running Psyduck. I feel like that is good. I feel like Dusknoir, like Psyduck feels a little down. Dusknoir feels down. I feel like Dusknoir is really good. But anyways, Mega Lopunny is okay. In B tier, definitely. It's probably, I don't really know. It kind of depends how good you think these fighting decks are, to be honest. I think it loses to all the decks above it, I think. So, because it's just, one shot, and I think you just, like, kind of disintegrate. So, yeah, that's all I'm going to say about it. I think that's what's going to happen for the most part there. Look at Mega Starmie. This is Mega Starmie, Mega Frostmouse, I guess. There are different ways to play it. And, it gets a little weird where, like, the deck lines are, but, or, like, the lines between the decks are drawn there. But I think Mega Starmie EX is, I mean, it's able to do some like OK spread stuff. In some ways, it's kind of a bad Dragapult, but in some ways, it kind of like Mega Lopunny with that healing stuff, and you can really big with Hero Escape or something if you want, and just really lean to Wallies. It's fine, I guess. I'd definitely say it's probably B tier. I'd probably say it's actually a little worse than Mega Greninja. I'd say it's pretty close to that, though. I kind of compare them in terms of like how good they are. In terms of how they play, they're also kind of similar. They're not the same, but they have some similarities. They have more similarities in how they look than how they'd actually play. Mega Greninja requiring a lot of setup, Mega Starmie not. And Mega Greninja having these really high highs, and Mega Starmie not either. You're not a very powerful attacker. You're a safe attacker, though. But yeah, Mega Starmie is okay. It's not crazy good, but it's all right. Then we have, I guess I'll just finish with the EXs here. We have Enzorg. Enzorg EX is pretty decent. I think it's doing pretty well in Japan as well. If I'm not mistaken, it's not a good deck. It's decent. You got draw, which is good. Obviously, you have options. Definitely feels pretty fun to play with. I guess I don't play it too much, but I think it is cool. And yeah, I mean the deck is able to do some good stuff. I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to like think of exactly how good this deck is. It's it's in B tier, right? It's in B tier. Pussy is actually going to be in B tier. It's probably below Mega Lopunny. I'll put it here, I guess. Just like slot it into the middle like a bunch of these decks here. It's an alright deck. It's a little clunky, and I think the highs are okay. I mean, I guess the highs can be crazy if you like if your opponent's like really like play into it. You can do some like crazy Reshiram or like just like some crazy knockout or something like that. But in that situation, you're fine anyway. So yeah, the deck is decent though. You have a bunch of options, but the options themselves aren't super powerful. But the versatility is quite nice there. Looking at Marnie's, Marnie's is fine. It's kind of like you're looking at it with Frostlass and Muggidori, presumably there. And that's fine. We see that generally with Mega Starmie, and that can be nice as well. Obviously, Frostlass can be very good with Mega Frostlass, and you can't do that in Marnie's because you Dark Synergy. That's kind of what makes it good, because you can then pair it with Munkidori, which is why you play Frostlass. But anyway, so Marnie's is fine. Yes, it's also. I don't really think the deck's that good. I'm not gonna lie, but I will also put in B tier. I could even see it in C tier. I really don't think it's that impressive, to be honest. So I'll look at what's it looking like here. Look at like how's it been doing lately? I don't think it's been doing super well. Yeah, it's not crazy impressive. So I'll put in C tier. I think it's kind of meh. Honestly, I might be like hitting on Hydrople a little too much here, and still like the Ogerpon stuff. But I'm just really I don't think they're super. Um, yeah, the Team Rocket stack, which is last Pokemon represented by a multi-prizer. They are doing less single prize stuff. Team Rockets has some cool stuff, obviously, with those core packages, blah blah blah. We've heard that before. That's what I always say about the deck, and that's really all there is to say about the deck. It's okay being able to do theoretically some pretty consistent stuff, I guess. With being able to search out your supporters is nice. Your attackers are not so nice. You do have the highest HP basic 2-prizer in the game, which is cool. Overall, Mewtwo EX, or Team Rocket's Mewtwo EX is like some mediocre attacker though. Feels like you can just miss a lot. Most of that kind of sucks, but you can do some nice stuff. But overall, it's okay. It's going in B tier here, probably middle of B tier. I'll put it near bottom of B tier. I think it's okay, but just the upside of the deck is kind of meh. Unless you're able to take, I guess, big single prize knockouts or big, knockouts with single prizers on 2-prizers, which could happen, but things need to get a little, I'd say, lucky for things to go that way, and then also not get your like board swept away by like something. Then we got the other Team Rocket deck, Team Rocket Hydro. This deck has been picking up steam a little bit in Japan, and just like in general, it's okay, I suppose. It's able to do some big stuff, obviously, which is cool, but it's not like always doing those big things. It's just like, it's a high like ceiling card but low floor. Stuff can go real bad. So yes, you got Team Rocket's Articuno to stop some of the stuff going real bad with against Dragapult, but the deck's fine. It can whiff so much though. Like it's so sketchy. I don't think it's really that good. I'll put it in C tier. I'll put it, right in here with these like kind of mediocre decks that could be really nice. It's very boomer bust. It's definitely for some people, not for a lot of people out there. Speaking of a similar deck is Alakazam. Alakazam, of course, special red card, right? So I talked about special red card, and I did at the beginning, but it definitely hurts Alakazam, messing with your hand, and there's not really too much you can do about it, so that's bad. It's not hitting you that much of the game, and you can maintain a board of the Dunsparces, or set up a board of Dunsparces for special red card. But I don't know. I mean, I've never been the biggest Alakazam fan, and it is definitely getting worse with this set. So I'm gonna put it in C tier. I think it's probably the top of C tier. It's an okay deck, definitely, but it's not a deck that I'd be, super. It's definitely a deck I'd be like expecting to go down, and a deck I don't think is super good without special red card, anyways. So yeah, but definitely be watching out for special red card with Alakazam. What can you do about it? I don't really know, but be prepared, I suppose. Then we have Crustle, Walling EXs. Obviously, EXs are most of the decks we've looked at so far, most of the decks in the metagame, but most decks also have non-EX options as well, which are, I guess they're okay. They're not that good. But you have Crustle here, which also isn't super good. Obviously, very counter meta. Your opponent has like a very simple, straightforward bad deck, sometimes you can just kind of beat it there. But overall, Crustle is kind of mediocre. I'd say it's probably also in C tier. Obviously, can be really good, can be kind of like just doesn't do anything. It just depends there. I'm going to put it in C tier here. I will put it right in the middle of C, I guess. It's fine. Obviously, depends a lot on what your matchup is and what the meta's looking like. It's the deck that depends the most on that. So, well, putting on this tier list is fine. Obviously, determine in order to determine whether or not it's actually good in a specific situation, you need to kind of know what the meta's looking like. And that also is always changing. Then we have Festival Lead. This deck was popping up some. I don't think it's super good. I think it's pretty bad. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna put it in D tier. I think the deck is probably the worst of these decks here. The deck I just don't respect very much. A single prize deck with theoretically high upside and some cool searching. When playing it, has the vulnerabilities of Honchkrow, I'd say, with less upside. Is kind of how I'd describe it. And Team X Honchkrow isn't super good. I'd say it's a lot worse than Alakazam. So in terms of single prize decks, it's a mediocre single prize deck. Single prize decks aren't super good, so it's unfortunately kind of bad here. It's not truly terrible. Like if you're like, oh, I want to play this deck, I think it's decent, then yeah, play it. But don't get your hopes up too much playing this deck. Then we got the next two decks. We have Slowking. Slowking is getting some new pieces. Specifically, it's getting the new Metagross, which is an option. There's also the Metang deck that's getting the new Metagross, but that isn't even here. Not really played. But with the Metagross, it's an attacking option that does big damage, I suppose. But that's what it does. It's not a super good card though, and it doesn't really change the deck too much or help it that much. So the deck is also pretty bad. I'm going to put it in D tier. It just doesn't work very well. There was a new Crobat, which actually helps with consistency a lot. Downtown Falso and I were talking about that, and I wasn't really thinking about it. He's like, yeah, this would be pretty nice there. And yeah, wood is a stage 2, so it's clunky, but it'll let you attack more because it's so easy to miss. And even when you hit, you need to really hit consistently. And that's really hard to do. It's really hard to just attack and attack with the attack you want to use. Then we have the last deck here, which is Okidogi with Blood Nurse, or I guess it probably plays Blood Nurse Luna with Luna Small Rock and stuff. It's an okay deck, I guess. I'd probably say it's better than the other D-tier decks, but still a D-tier deck as a single prizer. As you can see, the single prize decks are worse than the multi-prize decks here. Alakazam was holding down the fort, and it's not anymore. It was kind of holding it up before, or down, or whatever. But yeah, now it is definitely getting worse. I've always been kind of low on it compared to other people, but I think this is very fair. But anyways, tell me in the comment section what your thoughts are on the metagame. It seems like Dragapult is super, super good, and we need to continue having conversations about it, what Pokemon's going to do about it. Besides Pitch Black kind of has a counter attack to it, kind of, sort of. I definitely don't think it's some crazy counter to Dragapult. People really want a Dragapult counter, so I think that's why they're kind of talking about it like that. It certainly is decent against it, but things can go badly as well. But anyways, I hope you all enjoyed. Make sure you like and subscribe. That really helps support the channel. And also sharing the video, clicking the bell, all the good stuff. Join the channel as a member as well. But I hope you all enjoyed. And as always, I'm excited to see you in the next video.